They're random. Numbers you're passing are like they have a kind of like non-sequentialness to them. You wouldn't use this kind of numbering system even for a warehouse. It's just too nonsense. But rather than actually random, Gary, it's the kind of random numbers that come up whenever you ask somebody to pick a random number. Like if I asked you to think of a random number right now, you're more likely to be thinking of the number 47 than any other number. And it's just because it feels more random, because it has a 7 in it or it has some quality about it. There's something about these doors that seem like they're random for the sake of being random, hand selected by something to appear random.
Interesting. Interesting.
So you know you're not in a real hotel. You're in some kind of a weird trap of a hotel. Also, the corridors. Yeah. The corridors are also kind of bendy. They don't like. It doesn't look like they're going to proceed in straight lines. It's like you're in a maze. That's what it feels like. Like you're in an old hedge maze made of hotel walls. And Dan, you kind of feel the same way from a different angle. He's looking at the evidence, but you're just getting kind of this vibe that this space you're in is a maze.
Don't hotels have the fire exit paths in little plastic placards in the halls?
Yeah.
Can I find one of those?
You look up to find the fire exit placard, and you see where these are like leading, and one of them kind of bends around a corner up near the ceiling. You can see that red clip. And it's weird because until you thought about it, it's like it wasn't there jumping out at you. But now that it's here, it's like it was always there. There is a very dreamlike sense in being in this place. There's something dizzying about walking down these halls. Maybe it's the stench of cleaner in the air getting to you. Do you want to follow the fire exit trail to where it might lead you down these corridors?
First, I want to try to go into a room.
Okay. Walk over to one of these doors, and it's got that little key card thing on the outside.
Hello? Housekeeping?
Interesting. Give me a spirit roll. You're shouting housekeeping at the door here. I am intrigued by this. You call at the door for a bit, but the door does not open. Nobody opens the door for you. I wonder if that could have worked.
If
there was some kind of thing on the other side that could have answered you. You stand here instead looking at the closed door. There's one of those key card things to open it up, but you might be able to kick your way in with a little force if you want.
How do those things work? They scan like a barcode?
There's like a magnetic strip. It's like the simplest form of a credit card. It's only got like 8 numbers on it or something.
I remember from all the times I've gone to Atlantic City, so that is how they work.
So you could fake that, but not without some specialized equipment here.
If you had a blank, yeah, you can actually just like cheat. There's like a skeleton key for hotel rooms that's like a blank, and it's not hard to reproduce, I've heard.
What do you think, Gary? You want to follow this fire map, or you want to see if we can bust into one of these rooms?
Ooh. Let me take a look at the map. Is there anything like particular on it that stands out? Like On the map, are the rooms numbered the same way?
When you look at this map, the map isn't fully complete. Sorry, I got confused when you mentioned the placards earlier. I thought you meant like a path, like they put the little like trail up on the ceiling of blinking lights.
No.
You mean like one of those fire escape maps? Yeah, that's also here. And when you take a close look at that, it does depict what appears to be a very, very large maze. If you sat down and like squinted at it, you could solve this big, weird maze with no grid logic. Some of these paths don't meet at 90-degree angles. It's a bit of a mess. And also, you're wondering if it would even help. Because while you're looking at the map, Gary, like in the corner of your vision, you see the actual map change. You see one of the walls recede and another wall come in a different place, as if the map you're looking at is adapting, changing. That looks like it's not going to be a lot of help.
Yeah.
But it does prove you are in some kind of insane labyrinth.
This thing's basically useless. Let's start kicking doors in.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's kick a door in. Get me a spirit to kick this door in an efficient amount of time.
Going to muscle it.
Musclefoot.
Seems pretty sensible. All right. Well, Gary does it in one kick. He lifts a foot, blasts the door open with a kick, doesn't even break a sweat. And when the door to what should be a hotel room opens up, it opens directly into a long corridor that looks quite similar, if not identical, to the one you're already in. It empties out into a long stretch of hallway.
It's Scooby-Doo doors.
This is just like that road shit with the papers and the ghost. I'm gonna go get some ice.
And Gary parts for a second as you're left staring, kind of in awe, that when he chose to kick the door, it created a new passageway that leads you forward. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Honeycomb, Kachina, and Grant Winters find themselves in the same stretch of hallway. When you arrive in this space, you were walking in the same direction, but you kind of meet each other walking in opposite directions. Kachina is coming out of one corner, Grant is coming from another direction, and Honeycomb, you find yourself coming from a third, as if all three of you are meeting at a T intersection where behind you was the way out. But as you look past each other's shoulders, you can see that behind you isn't the way out. It's just a long stretch of this strange hotel.
Well, there goes my sense of direction.
And I do want to start with Kachina here. When you immediately enter into this space, knowing the kind of space it is, knowing the supernatural quality of it, what's your first attempt at gauging your surroundings and what you ought to be doing here?
Well, if we all came in from a different spot, I don't know how the hell Reason's gonna help me without me trying to figure out more what's going on first, so I can't use that. I kind of want to use the veil, because I got nothing to go on.
Yeah? I like the veil.
I'm just gonna like sit down for a moment because I feel like the less I move, the more I can just at least look at everything and hope my vision doesn't change while I'm sitting here. Okay. That works for me. Okay.
This is interesting because it's free. There's no consequence if you wanted a karma, or you could get some pretty useful information by paying a karma.
I live and breathe karma. Let's use it.
Okay. Interesting. First things first, Kachina, when you come into this space, you notice when you look up at the signs, when you look for symbols, the symbols aren't correct at first. You do a double take on the word exit because it doesn't have the E. It's just XIT for a moment. You squint, it appears. You look down the lengths of hallway and you realize these two are your friends, your agents. You feel that they're here with you. But the space is manufactured in a way. It has the quality of a vision or a dream.
Right.
But in a way, it's partly your dream. And like any dreamer, there is some kind of control you feel you can exercise while you're here. So keep it in mind that this space is not entirely outside of your control. Maybe what you expect to find, maybe what you're looking for, might appear if you take the right steps, if you construct the dream, shape it.
So I could be lucid, is what you're saying.
There might be moments where just wanting something to be there could make it be, could make it so. Honeycomb, you're also in this space, and you see Kachina taking stock of her surroundings. You two are pretty seasoned professionals, and now this is your third plutonion you've waltzed into. So you have...
Than that, I'll just tell them we're in a dream state, a shared dream state. I just wonder what Honeycomb thinks of when he's in dreams.
Yeah, Kachina mentions that you've walked into a dream. What's your first instinct? How do you want to take stock of your surroundings, or do you just want to get to moving? What does Honeycomb want to do here?
I'll similarly try and probe the supernatural aspect of the dream that I'm in, based on the information that Kachina has given me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
Reaching out to the supernatural. Nice. Where the hell are we? Says Grant.
I
Go
might
ahead.
also lean on, like, I was having supernatural dreams in, like, Mission 1. So I probably have some kind of link to supernatural dreaming, like I understand it a bit better. If you'll recall, I was having dreams where somebody composed the girl from Ipanema.
It's very interesting you specifically reference this, because there's been a lot of artifacts from the first case that have crept their way in to this case. Part of you believes that the first case, like, this case has been building for a very long time, might be the best way to say it. For the last year, this case, this twisting of reality has slowly crept in. Is it possible, then, that what came to meet you, what came to bring you that music to soothe your tinnitus, came from another plane, came from one of these spaces? And what did you have to do then to try to connect to that? You had to listen. You had to observe and listen carefully to your surroundings. This place is a lot quieter than the racket of the car park you just came out of. There's no noisy wind blowing through. But there is faint music in the air. It hangs over you, just like the California Dreamin' music was the soundtrack to your shootout. There is a different song hanging in the air nearby. The song you hear is this. I've put it into the Discord. It is a faint, kind of Has an elevator music quality to it. Tinny and distant. But when you think back to hearing the girl from Ipanema, the fact that it was samba music, and you listen carefully, you find out that this music too has that time signature, that structure. You're listening to another samba being played through the speakers very faintly. You're not just in any dream. You feel like you might have walked into your own dream.
But we all have the same dream?
My own dream.
Grant Winters looks a little confounded, and he looks to the two of you for some kind of guidance here. What do you mean we're in a dream, Kachina? Is this like the times I visited Kim?
That's possible, but if you think you're gonna find her here, you might. Just by thinking about it.
We're not in just any dream, we're in my dream.
Either that or all our dreams are attached, but you dream of hotels often?
I do.
When you look around the space for a moment, Honeycomb, the walls, the ceiling, a lot of them start to match in the way you remember them, the hotel you were staying at by the beach, near the black sands, where you walked out from this place and sat there and listened to the music to soothe the tinnitus, and it was the only way you could dream. Sleep was a distant hope for you after the first mission.
It's not like becoming Malkovich. We didn't somehow walk into Honeycomb's head from a separate door.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I haven't had a proper home in a long time. Been staying at hotels, and this one in particular, this is where I've been staying in California. And that music is familiar.
Do you think you know where your room is?
My room. This way.
Honeycomb leads the way. Something is guiding your steps past these randomly numbered doors. You have a sense you know what way it is, but it's not any kind of logical sense that could guide you there.
This is a very the path situation, yeah.
Feels like time is passing while you follow Honeycomb, and even while you're walking Honeycomb. It feels like you might have been walking for an hour, but you only notice after 30 seconds. It's like you're skipping forward in time to when your body is weaker, your mind wearier from this travel. But you are traveling. Something is guiding you. And these two are just kind of along for the ride in the moment.
Is there a way to call the other people that we're not with?
There might be. Once we get back to you, there might be a way you could try to reach out to them, because they're tangled up in this labyrinth too, but Honeycomb is on a path. Honeycomb is being led somewhere, and relatively quickly. With just the amount of time you've spent here, a little bit of fatigue is set in. As time lurches forward, but not much, because Honeycomb leads you down a path and another path until the music is getting louder and louder. The music you can hear over that faint radio in the building is rising. By the time you get to where you're going, there's a different song on, but one leads right into the other. They have kind of a similar vibe, a similar timbre to them. They're both these Brazilian samba songs. But it's pretty loud when he reaches where he's meant to be. Give me one sec. See if I can find it. And you walk down one corridor that should lead you just, to somewhere else in this same weird building. This time it leads forward a bit and then hits a beach. And you can look out across that beach and you can see the bay behind it. And you can see the familiar door to your room. Honeycomb, what was your room number in this place, do you think? Think of a random number for me.
213.
69. All right.
I'm going to take the less memey number here. You see that door to the side here. You also can look out and see the bay. Now, you were in Fresno. There's no bay anywhere nearby. This is the San Francisco Bay. This is the room you were in. This is the smell of the salt. And you can hear the sound. But what started out tinny elevator music with these kind of synthesized instruments has slowly transitioned into what sounds like a song being played on a vinyl record and a woman's voice coming through. It's no longer elevator music, it's a woman singing a song somewhere nearby, in a nearby room. You had the opportunity several months ago to go find out who was singing, but instead you left her to her stuff. You just sat on the beach to listen. What do you want to do here, Honeycomb?
I guess I shouldn't miss the opportunity twice.
You want to lead these guys over to the adjoining room?
Sure.
Okay. You walk over where the room adjoins. You see a rather plain-looking door. And when you open it up, on the other side of the door... Whoa. Okay.
I'll knock, Dave.
You're going to give it a nice knock. Fuck. Oh my God. The music does sound to be emerging loudly from this door. Wait, I'm going to check for traps first, Dave, if you don't mind. The pit trap in front of the door. No, you give it a knock. You can hear the music pumping out from underneath the door. You can hear distinctly a woman's voice coming through the door. When you were here before, when the music had stopped, when the singing had stopped, do you remember talking to the like bellhop or whatever, asking about what happened to the woman in the room next door? It was a long time ago in the game.
I don't remember necessarily, no.
He said some people come here to die. That you didn't hear her anymore, her singing stopped. You asked if she'd left, and he said, kind of plainly, that some people don't leave, they come here to die. It was weird, it was vague at the time, it made very little sense to you. You give the door a knock, and she doesn't come to the door. Nobody answers the door. Her singing doesn't stop. Would you like to walk on in?
I'll open the door now.
Okay. You walk in through the door to see the other side. And when you do, you see a woman standing on a stage performing. The room you walk into is not anyone's actual hotel room, unless they dream their hotel room is some kind of magnificent place to perform on a stage. Unless they imagine themselves some kind of world-class singer. This is a big, looks like a club, some kind of space wherein music can be performed. And you see the woman that you saw in your dream before, singing your song. You dreamed of her after the events, but she was never really there. But here she is on the stage, and she hasn't noticed that you've entered into this room that's now opened up before you. You're not the only one in this room either. Kachina and Grant are coming behind you, but she has herself a pretty large audience of of onlookers. Pretty thoroughly packed audience of people who seem to be enjoying her song with her. A few semi-familiar faces, with his feet kicked up and fully reclined with a big-ass margarita in his hand. You know those margaritas that come in fish bowls? It's just like too elaborate. Is Eric Mousseau there? He's eating a big chunk out of a pineapple from this big fish bowl of margarita. Maddie Merchant is there, trying to keep her distance from him. She looks kind of sheepishly in your direction, then looks back up at the stage. They acknowledge that the three of you have entered here. But the singer, she hasn't spotted you yet. And when the three of you fully come into the room, the door closes itself behind you, and we will cut over to where Gary and Dan are. Set this up a bit.
I should have seen this coming, but I forgot that John Steinbeck wrote Samba de los Muertos.
I'm wondering if there's like a payphone in the hallway or something.
You walk down that hallway. Oops. There's French Hopkins' dead body here. French Hopkins was also among the audience watching the performer, by the way. While you're walking down that long hallway, Gary, are you looking for a payphone?
Yeah.
Okay. After just a few minutes, takes very little time, you find a payphone there in the side of the hallway. A big row of payphones.
Do they all have the same number listed on them?
You look really closely at the phone number listed on the payphone. Try to examine it. The only number you could think of was your own home phone number the time you looked at it. And what's weird is each one of these payphones lists your home phone number as the number.
Interesting. I'm gonna just try calling it.
Okay. You pick up, you dial your home phone number, and after a few seconds, you get your personalized answering machine message. Gary keeps one of those old tape deck answering machines from the 90s. What's your personalized message that comes on when you make the call?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Could be really professional, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's probably like what, like the name of his business.
Yeah, that's how I imagine
Like,
it too.
yeah, like Phillips Warehousing.
If you call,
Or
you get
something.
that. You have to leave the message at the beep. It's as short as possible because you do have to field a lot of calls. After the beep, do you want to hang up or leave yourself a message?
I feel like I should leave myself a message, but I don't know what it should be.
Yeah, I don't either.
I guess I'm gonna take one last look around.
Do you want to just like mention your surroundings, maybe? Like just explain. I'm in a dream hotel. It's like a maze.
I'm standing in front of whatever room I'm standing in front of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You leave this message on your own answering machine, and then the call hangs up. Is there anyone else you'd like to call? Dan, eventually you're with Gary. You see Gary at this row of answering, or at these row of payphones here.
Let me whose number would I have besides Chin?
You probably have Grant's. Grant uses a cell phone a lot, and
Yeah. Let me see if I can call him.
rings for just a moment, and then Grant picks up. In the background, you can hear this music playing, and it's very loud, and it's some kind of Latin-type music. And Grant goes, "Hey, there's a performance going on wherever we are. I feel like it'll screw things up if I talk too loud. Are you still stuck back in that hotel?"
Yeah. And then I guess I tell him what room I'm standing in front of in hopes that he could tell me how to get to where they're at.
"I wish I could tell you. We just followed Honeycomb and he went right there. There was something leading him around. I don't know. It's all a little supernatural, I guess. Do you know where Dan is?"
I'm here.
"Look, I have to go. Something's going down here, but we might have met one of the Orphics? No, I think this is bigger than that. Anyway, keep in touch, I guess."
Sounds good.
That doesn't really give us a lot to go on, does it, Gary?
No. But we know they made it out of here.
Well, I say we follow that fire map best we can for a few minutes, and then we blow this bomb that I've got. See what that does.
Sounds good to me.
So you want to take the fire map down from the wall and take it with you to maybe follow it even as it changes. Because I mentioned it's changing. It's like an illusion. You're not looking at a passage, or even when you are, sometimes a wall would form up on the map or change. The fire map is not entirely useless, but it's hard to make use of. If anybody could do it, it's Dan. He's been a pretty apt navigator.
Look, Dan's not leaving a map behind. No map left behind. That's Dan's motto.
Yeah.
Finally, the motto makes sense.
It's building up for this moment. Well, armed with the map, how do you want to follow it? I mean, it's not necessarily easy. These corners and these paths are changing as you're looking at them. And then while you're watching them change, you can see the line, the red line that draws the fire escape path from where you are to some kind of exit is changing a little bit. It like juts into a new set of hallways on the map you're looking at as it's being observed. Won't be impossible to follow, but it is intentionally trying to mislead you now.
Maybe we do I have a sense of like where I want to head towards? Is there like there's obviously an edge to this map. I guess we just head for the edge as best we can.
Kind of just move generally toward the ultimate goal, which is in the same direction. Yeah, if you want to like see where it leads, and just kind of anytime you have a choice, pick the one that you think would keep you oriented toward it. You remember navigating the desert, how you had to treat it like an ocean. You had to pick a bearing and stick with it. And even though there's walls around you, maybe the same principle is true. Maybe you're on an ocean of carpet. Maybe these walls will just adapt in a way that lets you get to where you're going.
Do I have a sense of how it is attempting to bamboozle us? Like, it's just magic. There's no more robust mechanism at play here.
I could give you like a free spirit roll that kind of tries to assess a mechanism if you want to pull out a spirit for some extra info. I think drama was like having that going for a bit made a lot of sense, although I can see a different thing tipping in here if you think that's better. Maybe the path tells you how something is trying to organize a way to deceive you if it is.
I was inclined towards drama, but I am thinking about the path as a a holistic looking at this map as it changes around us and trying to understand what its modus is. Like
the ultimate goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Top-down goal, yeah. Yeah, I like this a lot as an action to undertake here. It seems to make quite a bit of sense. Rather than following the map then at first. Nice. You guys are staving off the fatigue that's been looming over you, and that's probably pretty good. You're all beat up from your Bogdanov encounter. But as you look over the map, you remember the numbers that Gary saw. How they were just kind of random numbers that a dude would think up to try to throw at you. And the parts of the map that are changing aren't parts that you're in. They're not even parts that you might have to go through. There's like parts of the map you wouldn't even think about venturing toward that are also randomly changing. Someone is just trying to use randomness to obscure everything, but doesn't really know where you are or what you're doing. At least not yet. It does seem like, though, is that in all of this chaos of shaking things up, a lot of the paths naturally lead to the entrance to the airport. That the hotel connects to the airport, and the airport connects. The airport and the hotel connect around in the car park. That it's all sort of an interconnected space, and that the main arteries have to still connect. This hotel still has to be the hotel that goes to the airport, you know? That gets people who are ready to depart or who are arriving. Which means maybe if you orient yourselves toward the airport, where you wanted to be all along, you could make good work of this place. What that means, not necessarily sure. It's definitely one side of the map. It's not directly toward the fire exit lane either. It's just kind of in a different direction. But it feels like the way ahead.
This is gonna be tedious, maybe. But I think we gotta head towards the airport. That seems to be what it's trying to keep us from. And yet, what its most important aspect is. Let's just do our best, pick our way towards it.
And you start out. Give me any kind of good old spirit that's going to make this task easier. I'm going to rely on the path that showed you the way. I think there's a risk that it could take some time. But let's do that. Hey, more clean success. You've been rolling pretty well today, Dan.
These are D6s.
Oh, yeah, they are D6s. He's still been rolling. Even on the things that weren't D6s, I think you did a good job of rolling it up today. So the fatigue does not set in. And in fact, I will be able to remove this fatigue counter that has been looming over you guys as you've all navigated through the labyrinth. Well avoided there. Gary is falling behind Dan, and the path to where you're going is just like being in the desert, just like being on the ocean. It is as straight a line as you can manage given the surroundings. What if the walls were just choppy waves, impassable waters? The overhang or shoulder under the bay. Things you had to avoid while you're still trying to make the straightest path possible. Eventually, you get just like dead-ended, but there's a hotel room at the end of that dead end. Gary can kick the door open, and when he does, there's a path ahead. Not a hotel room, but just the path you need to follow. And you do that to the best of your abilities. Gary, you got some ice earlier. Were you trying to crunch on some ice, or were you looking to get a soda around here? Looking for a vending machine, maybe?
Yeah, they got honey buns.
Yeah. While you're walking along, you see a vending machine, and it's got all those screws on it. What's interesting about this vending machine is that it only has one kind of snack in it, and it's all honey buns. So you pop one out,
Yeah.
start munching on that thing.
Yeah, it's
and
honey
just eat
buns.
the
Honey
rest.
buns. What do you expect?
And you continue. And by the end of this path, at the very end of the trail here that Dan has cut out, you see a large set of double doors that leads directly into an airport terminal. And you guys get there. It's just the two of you still. You don't know what you're looking for. But just as you get to the end here, I want to give Gary a roll to catch a glimpse of something. Something visual, something nearby. What spirit's going to help you spot something that could be hidden? Maybe the thing that was responsible for you being stuck in that labyrinth. Shadow. Do that. Wow. Wow.
I know.
That is perfect, because we're right at the end of the session. I'm going to put it in a cliffhanger. But I want to write this ace down.
Finally.
It's also amazing because it's one shadow looking at another. One person scoping out that which is hidden, and something that in its nature is trying to hide. It's trying to hide everything. Conceal itself, trying to ambush you. Lead you around in circles till you are all worn out and prey upon you. And this living shadow, this creature, another one of the Orphics, darts off away from this area and into another. It's time to give chase. But how do we want this ace to play out? Maybe Gary just keeps his eyes on this thing that's hiding, this Orphic, never loses track? Or some other benefit? Maybe spotting the thing so quickly could make you guys, could remove some stress. You like that? What do we want?
I'd love to remove stress or harms.
Yeah, let's see. What kind of stress are we working with here?
So here's your two options. Either you can remove one stress from yourself when you spot it, or you can shout to Dan, like, I found the sucker, or like, I got this. And then Dan can remove a stress when he realizes Gary has immediately spotted the threat that has trapped him.
Yeah, let's do that.
You want to remove Dan's stress?
Yeah.
Okay. Dan, set your stress to 3 with the S equals button. And Gary, the ultimate hunter, kicked down doors according to your plan. Seems to trust you despite a lot of what's gone down here. Being in the company of Gary has actually been kind of a low stress place to be. He approaches everything in a very practical way. And he's still just gnawing on the side of a honey bun, ready to shoot down the next monster. And it's refreshing. You're ready to go take on the world. Let me take us to the cliffhanger. It's like a variety of cliffhangers here, but this is the last one. It's Gary's house. It's in the real world. Gary hasn't been here in a little while. He's been so busy with work. And you hear, beep. Hey, Gary, I got all them boxes moved to the new place. So, yeah, we're ready to shutter that place up and maybe sell it back if possible. But everything's going pretty well. So, just checking in. Dude. Hi, Gary. It's Teresa. Yeah, I got those TPA reports in for you, so. Yeah, I'll have them at the main office soon enough, up at where old Paragon Metals used to be, if you remember. And the answering machine comes on a third time. Gary, I know it's been a long time since I've called, but it's Mr. Bogdanov. Something is going to go down later. By my estimation, there is a 50% chance that we both live, but a 50% chance that one of the two of us will die. I'm calling to let you know that if it is me, you have full control of my business moving forward. All the places we souped up, everything we got established, it's all yours. It's in your name. I bequeath everything else to my family back in Russia, but we built a business together. So, it's all yours now.
Nice.
And should it happen to be you who dies, well, then you won't receive this message. And I hope one of your comrades runs into it first. Because your boss, a man by the name of Mr. Powers, might be up to less good than you think. And your friend, Dan Cunningham, has for some time been perhaps inadvertently helping him. You see, Gary, they work for a little organization by the name of Chamber House. And for quite some time. And whatever remains on Gary's answering machine, some back in the real world, plays out. And then a beep. And then you hear Gary's own voice going, so I'm in some kind of weird dream hotel, and and then that's the end of the session.
Well, shiz.
All right.
I recently watched Discovery of Witches and Mayfair Witches because they put them on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw that on there. I was interested.
Yeah, they were pretty good. It made me think about vampire. They have vampires and demons in those series, but they don't have werewolves.
They're based on like the Anne Rice books, right?
Yeah. One of them is. They both might be.